I think we can definitely start. You ready?
Yep. I just tagged you on the Instagram.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Christina. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for checking out the Blossom Media Studio, the Real Abhinav podcast. Today is episode number 12.
Boop, boop.
Episode number 12. And guess what? We have the first lady in the house of the podcast. So, Christina, thank you so much for taking the time today to be here with me and spend this afternoon, evening, whatever the hell this is. It's evening.
It's evening somewhere.
It's evening somewhere.
Morning somewhere.
Yes, right. So for those of you that don't know who Christina is, I'm just going to quickly talk about this, and then we'll definitely continue on. This is her beautiful website. You can find her at xtinageri.com. And she is a entrepreneur. We're going to talk about a bunch of her businesses today. I'm very curious to hear about you being a single mom. And I want to hear a little bit about that. I want to hear about all these other fun things that you do with your energy healing, because that's something that I'm really interested in. I genuinely believe that we're all just here transmitting our energies, and that's what this podcast is doing right now to anybody listening. So I want to know how that healing works, and perhaps you could heal some stuff in me. That'd be great.
You heal yourself.
All right, I'll heal myself,
I'm
but
here
I
to
need your help.
facilitate the healing.
Okay, perfect. Makes sense. So, hey, listen, thank you again for being here. So how are you?
I am amazing.
Yes.
I feel so honored and blessed to be here, humbled, excited.
Yes.
This is my first time doing a podcast, so popping cherries here.
Whoop, whoop. That's right. So listen, you ever want to do your own podcast, the studio is available to you. That goes out to anybody watching this too. Come hit us up at blossommediastudio@gmail.com, and we'll set you up and get you going. So you ever want to do yours, come on back. I really want to start off with, so we met a few weeks back. We were having a Blossom Media bonfire, or Blossom Retreat sort of bonfire. I'm trying to kind of get people out there. And we met. I'm so happy you came. And we were just talking about a few different things that you're doing. You're into bodybuilding and working out, which is like, you and I click on that probably right off the bat, because I think you overheard me talking to Nancy. Shout out to Nancy, to talk about how fitness works and all that. I'm just curious, like, where did this Geri come from? Like a few years back, have you always been like this?
No, definitely was not athletic ever.
Right.
Growing up. I love this question because it was actually fitness that led me to kind of my mind, body, soul work.
Okay.
So for me, it was learning how to take care of my body that led to learning how to take care of my mind, and then learning more about energy and all of that stuff. So where it ignited was during my pregnancy with my son. I almost became obsessed with not wanting to become that fat mom. And
'cause that's what happens. You get pregnant, you get excuses to eat a lot. I'm just making shit up.
No, that is what happens.
Yeah.
So it's not even like...
You look really good for a mom. I'm just going to say that out loud.
33.
Wow. You look really, really good.
Thank you, sir.
I love it. It's great.
So during my pregnancy, I was semi-active, but that last month I decided to actually commit to working out and like following a program. And I started with Beachbody. Mm-hmm. And that really did change my life. It taught me how to work out. It taught me how to eat.
Is that a program?
Yeah. It's like, home workouts.
Gotcha.
And
what kind of things? Like squats and like body weight stuff mostly?
Yeah, like HIIT stuff.
Okay. High intensity, that for anybody who doesn't know what that means.
Yeah. So quick workouts, gives you a meal plan. And for me, I had been active before my son, before getting pregnant, but I never really saw results. So it was just like working out. And when you don't see results, you kind of get like
demotivated, baby.
All of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
You beat yourself up. And so I saw results even while pregnant, and I was like, oh shit, this works.
So like you were pregnant, gaining weight because of the baby, but also getting leaner.
I was, like my arms were getting toned. I was getting stronger, and I was like, this is really cool.
And what kind of stuff was this? All HIIT at the time?
Pretty much. I mean, like there was some like dumbbell work, but not like bodybuilding, not heavy lifting. It's anything. It's geared towards the busy American, or I have no idea if they're worldwide, but
okay,
the busy
gotcha.
make American or Canadian. And for someone who was a single mom who was working, I was also in graduate school. I was like, this is the answer to my problems.
Wow. A lot
30
of
minutes.
things.
Yeah.
A lot of things.
Always have a lot of
juggle.
things. And so 30-minute workouts, 6 days a week. And I was like, this is doable. I can do this.
Yeah.
And then that kind of started my love for learning how to take care of my body. So once I was cleared from, because after you give birth, you can't do any type of physical movement. You can't even like lift the car seat or any like heavy lifting because you could hurt your hoo-ha. Because your insides are healing, right? Because you've completely opened
Just
up.
obliterated.
Yeah. And everything's
We're talking about,
demolished.
yeah, we're talking
there.
about childbirth here, guys.
So everything is just healing, right? Your organs have been moved because there's been a baby in you. And so everything's kind of coming back into
Better
place.
women than men.
Yeah, we're made for it, I guess.
Yes.
Some of us. And so once I was cleared, I was like, I'm going to return to this. So I returned to it and I fell in love with working out. And then that really taught me how to take care of my body, surrounded me around other people. And I started sharing my journey on Instagram. And that's what built a community of people that I didn't know who were encouraging me. I was encouraging them. I started doing online fitness coaching. And so it kind of just like grew into this, all kinds of other things and
Yes.
helping other moms and working moms, non-working moms, and built that community for me.
So you first figured out for yourself how to get yourself in shape. By the way, I love what you said about 30 minutes, 6 days a week. I think the most common misconception with fitness is that you got to spend hours and hours in the gym. It's about what you do with your time. And are you really working hard? Even if you do it for 20 minutes. Sometimes I've had the most amazing
Intense.
warm-up sessions because I will be so in the zone with like my 5-10 pound dumbbells and I'll be warmed up.
Yep.
But I will be so just like tired after that it's just like, well, at least that works. It's effective. So it's all about efficiency. So that's really,
all
really
about
cool.
efficiency. And I think for me, once, because I used to think that too, that I needed to like slave away. And there was just no way to do that now being a mom. Like
Right.
there was no way. So this really kicked all my excuses out the window because it was like he could be napping, I could get a workout in.
Yes.
And so it changed my life. Like it completely changed my life.
I'm so happy for that. That's bodybuilding, or just being active in general in consistent ways, doing yoga, maybe going for a walk every day, riding a bike, whatever the hell it is that you do. I'm a big advocate from experience now is that, your physical health is very much necessary for your mental health to be healthy. I learned that the hard way. I've been a competitive athlete. I was very disciplined at one point, and I think my mental health was pretty stable. I felt very confident most of the times, and I could put on any challenges. Started working a lot, not going to the gym, eating a lot, drinking, getting
Spirals
fatter.
quickly.
Oh my God, my mental health started to go down fast.
It's a symbiotic relationship, right?
Yes.
So like with a lot of people that I've worked with, whether they're my clients or they're enrolled in one of my online courses, is yes, work on the body, but work on the mind.
Yes.
Because they're so inherently interconnected and intra-connected, right? So they impact one another. So as you work on your mind, your body gets stronger. As you work on your body, your mind gets stronger. And same with your spirit or your soul. And your energy begins to truly uplift. It's not this like, I think maybe I'm wrong, but you could probably help me with this. A very American way of life is thinking that things are like linear progressions, right? And I think when you start to work on yourself,
It's geometric, baby.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's no
Agreed.
linear progress to this whatsoever, So
Yeah, no, I think that's very fair. I'm curious now, you started helping other people because it almost seems like, when you start to do better and you've been in a dark place, you want to help other people kind of climb themselves out of it because you see that you're able to do it. And then you can recognize the suffering. You can recognize it so easily, the pain behind the eyes, you're like, wow, I can empathize so much better, like having gone through something similar. So how did, you said Instagram, it kind of became your platform of sharing your story. And then naturally people came out who were, motivated by you and wanted to encourage you. But how does it, you go from there to like actually, starting a business to, wanting to help people? Like, how did all that start? Did, you were just recently became a mom and now you have like a fitness journey and a business, and like, well, how the hell does this go about? Like, to my head, I want to know.
So while I was pregnant with my son, I was working with a spa. So at the time I was in graduate school working on my PhD in ethnic studies and working part-time. at a spa, and I was also an esthetician. So I did skincare.
Okay.
But with the spa, I really was working with her to grow her business. So it wasn't just me being an employee, it was me working as like her business partner. So we started a skincare line and we launched that. I wrote all the content for her website, got her involved in different like Facebook groups. So it really was like, where are all the spaces that we can grow? Because business, well, there's so many ways to do business, but right, you can do a facial and you only make so much money. But if you generate your own skincare line, through private label or things like that, you can have a higher return. And you also,
the product's yours, the service is yours.
Everything's yours.
You get double the money.
And it's not just the money. Like if you really care about, right, this example is skincare, when you're in charge of what's going into the products, you know when you recommend something, what's there and how it's going to help your client.
Right.
So like how clean it is, what's in it, what's not in it. And you have also this like sense of ownership and agency in helping somebody else, right? You're just like, I want to perform the best. I want to give them the best. And so in that, the universe takes care of you and like brings you better things.
So you have your own skincare line?
No, that woman.
Gotcha.
Which I love. She's amazing. We're still friends. And so when I became pregnant, I was going to, after giving birth, return. And she decided to shift her business model. And she was scared to tell me. And I was like, no, this is awesome. This is always what happens to me when I like help someone start their own business. And then something happens where they're like, you know what, I'm going to shift this. And I'm like, that's great.
Yeah.
I never take it as oh my God, I can't believe they did this to me. Like, that's just like the wrong mindset.
Yeah, like they fucked me over mindset versus like, wow, I'm so happy that you're growing. You don't need me anymore.
Yeah. It's like so awesome. And then it gives you like, perspective is everything, right?
It's life, dog.
And so it opened up like, hey, I really didn't want to go back to work. Like I loved being at home with my kid. And I was in a really dark place as a single mom from the beginning. And so going through kind of legal battles with his father and self-worth issues within myself, that I was like, it's like you said, you want to help people through the pain. But I think for me, as I worked on myself, it wasn't just about seeing their pain. It was, we don't have to live in that pain anymore. There's happiness and bliss and joy that can be created no matter what the pain is. And so that to me was more motivating and amazing. And I didn't need an escape anymore, right? So
it gave you purpose to pursue forward. It gave meaning to your life. It gave all of that.
And then it's not just about, for me, this might be a selfish reason, but it wasn't just wanting to help people. It was like, as I helped people, I grew too. So it like kept me accountable for my own growth. And I mean, that's for me, I feel like that's why we are on this planet with other people. We're not here by ourselves, right? We're not meant to journey by ourselves. We're not meant to grow by ourselves. And so, yeah, I just said right now, like, oh, maybe it's selfish, but I really don't think it's selfish. It's like, there's so much, I don't even know what the word would be, but just beauty in sharing that vulnerability with someone, because there is strength in being vulnerable.
Well, it's real for one. You're not pretending to be Instagram. You're not pretending to be a filtered. I know. So it's like you're not trying to be something you're not. You're just sharing your truth.
Yeah.
And I think a large part of that is it's going to resonate naturally at the frequency that it should. You know, you don't have to pretend to do anything. And like, you know, I'm a firm believer of that too, that things do resonate on frequencies. And I think scientifically that's true of our planet, at least, or of our ecosystem, that everything has a vibration frequency to it. So, you know, whatever you put out into the world, whatever energy you're putting out from yourself, from your vibe, from the way you stand, talk to people, interact with people, I mean, that's transcending outward, and it's transcending into those people's lives and how they respond and all that. I mean, one thing that's also to be said is, like, a lot of people, including myself at times, I'm not in control of, you know, if things come my way that are bad energy, or, you know, somebody reacting negatively or yelling or whatever it is. You have to have enough of I don't know if it's composure is the word, but it's more of like self-awareness in my language. It would be, being more aware of yourself, your existence, your environment. Like these are things coming into your presence, but they're not necessarily there to harm you unless you invite them further in and engage with them. So like I was starting to realize that more and more, because it was just too easy to blame other people for things to go wrong, when do things go wrong, and it's just like, oh, it's not my fault, it's because of this circumstance or X, Y, and Z. But it's like, well, maybe that's partly true, but it's more so on how do you now react to it, and how do you end up going about, moving forward from here. Are you going to become more toxic now, or are you going to try to take that as like the buck stops here with me? I'm not going to let this shit go forward like this anymore. I'm going to be the change. I'm going to be the different, in the environment. So it's like, I think energy is a really big part to do with it. It's like feeling your own energy, so you recognize this is something that I want to gel with or not. And it just becomes instinctual at one point.
I think that's a huge part of it. Energy, right? What feels comfortable. But I think being intentional with self-awareness, like you have the power to choose who you want to be and who you are. So like taking the time to define, like, who am I? Right? So like one of the affirmations that I have, that I use myself, or that I have people that I work with, is like, what someone says or does to me doesn't define who I am, because I get to define who I am. And that way it's the same principle, that when something comes at me, doesn't even mean, it doesn't have to be a part of me. It can come at me and I can like kind of like matrix it, like,
yeah, just walk away from it, look away from it, dodge it, whatever.
Yeah. And there's different ways. So like energy healers, we use affirmations, or I speak about it in that way. But I had shared, I'll give a real life example, because, right, we can talk all energy and spirit and God and universe, but sometimes we're like, okay, I need a real fucking example. Like,
Sure.
like someone's beating me down and I don't know what to do. And I reached out to a friend. So someone was saying some really mean things to me and just being rude. And it was that usually I don't let those things bother me, but that day it bothered me. And I texted a friend. And so I'm so thankful that, like, it's really important to have a support network.
Yes.
That isn't going to, when something pops off, so to say, or some bad thing happens, that you can reach out to them and they're going to pull you out of the negativity instead of bring you back down, right? Because we all have those friends, especially women, where we'll start venting and they're like, blah, 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 blah. He did this. You don't need that. You deserve this and that. And it's this twisted way of thinking of women's empowerment, where what you want is to be able to vent and say, I feel bad or I'm upset. And for someone to say, okay, validate that. What are we going to do about that? That's not who you are. And so it was very simple. I reached out to a friend and was like, this person's being really mean to me. And my friend was a guy. And so maybe that has something to do with it. Who knows? It was very simple. And he was like, you can handle it. That's all I needed to hear.
Yeah. Just a little bit of encouragement, not judgment, and no like,
and I was like,
crazy advice.
Yeah, I was like, oh, you're right.
Yeah.
I can handle someone being mean to me. Like, it's it. That's
yeah,
it.
I think so. I think it's an interesting topic because like words do have a lot of power, in the sense that
A lot of power.
they hold meaning to each of us. Each word like has its own picture that it paints in your head. It's unique to you generally, but some things are more collective, than this. This is where like society comes in as like a collective illustrator or marketer of branding or whatever, that we always look up to, as like the comparator. Like, okay, here's what we're putting out into the world as like the ideal family, the ideal whatever. And this is where your life is. But there's such a mismatch.
Constant comparison, right?
Yes. I think somehow we're getting a little bit better in the marketing sense, at least in terms of like what I'm seeing with some social media stuff. It's coming out like you can see somebody's life. And ideally that's what it was designed for, I would say, to be more real with yourself and show the real like story of your life. But so much of it's being misinterpreted and also being used as like, okay, well, this is a cool place to flex, and show off. And I'm not just talking about flexing your muscles, like just trying to pretend you have things that you don't, and getting yourself in maybe more trouble than you think, because this stuff is going to be around for a long, long time now. It's hard to get rid of stuff on the internet. So I love your energy that you put out on the internet. It's very positive and it's very raw, and it is
Very
your
raw.
life. You put your daily routines up there. You put what you're doing today, and also, like, I know you put your son up there.
I do.
And your
And it's
relationship
all
with him.
public.
Yes.
Nothing's private.
I mean, is that scary?
It doesn't scare me because I know who I am. But I think that's where it returns to too.
What about like creeps and shit?
So like if people slide up into my DMs
Well,
or like
I don't
creeps
know.
with
I
my
mean,
son.
somebody, well, whatever, like maybe both. And maybe trying to come find you to see where you're at. Because that's one of my concerns with like geotagging, and I can see that for like some people that might be risky at some point, like,
I used to be much more public than I am. I'm going to say two things about this. The first is we create our reality. So whatever you focus on expands, right? So whatever you're giving attention to is going to happen. And
Right.
so in my mind, creeps don't exist in my reality. And so someone might say like, oh, that's extremely naive. And I'm like, no, because I put so much power and effort into aligning with what I want, that is what I attract, right? Even meeting you, like essentially you're a stranger. Now I'm in your, studio space and it's just me and you and the door's closed. I could be like freaking out like something bad's going to happen.
Shit. She caught on to it, guys. She fell for it.
But right, like what a waste of freaking energy.
Right.
What a waste of energy, because I just don't know what else to say. Of like, so much goes into like worrying and the what ifs and this and that. And of course, I've had like moments in my life that bad things have happened, but they don't happen like that at all anymore, because I truly spend time trusting, like you said, learning to be self-aware and trusting the energy. You have to trust yourself. You have to trust what comes into your path, and you're not going to fall for every freaking bone that comes your way. And there's just a knowing that I think that ends up happening the more you align with your true self. So like I will go be alone in a workspace with somebody and not be weirded out, or I'll go out on a date with someone and right, I have to give you some background as
Tell
to
me.
like what this is.
Open up. We got all the time in the world.
And I'm a lady, so I think women hearing this, and maybe men should hear this side of what goes on
Lay
for
it on
dating for women as well. So throughout my early 20s,
By the way, you can move this around if you're feeling like it's too much in your face. Just feel
Got
at
it.
ease, like enjoy yourself.
Is that like good?
Oh yeah, it sounds
Okay.
great.
So I'm not used to my ears being covered. I think this is fun because I was always teased for having
experience.
like fairy ears or elf ears growing up. So having my ears covered.
Now I want you to take them off. I want to see them now. Show me. Oh, there it is.
There it is. I can wiggle them.
Here, let me put the camera on you. Yeah, wiggle them.
Can you see them wiggling?
Oh, kind of. Come closer to this. This
This
one. Yeah. That's you. Wow. Oh, I see it totally. That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah. When I was in like third grade, some kid brought me his Christmas list and told me to give it to Santa, and I was all pissed off.
Oh, he called you an elf. Mm-hmm. It's okay. I always got teased for being short too, so it's kind of
I was always short,
Yeah.
5'2" on a tall day.
on a tall day. I love it. Shoot, where were we going with this?
Oh, dating.
Dating.
So I was in a long-term relationship throughout my like early 20s and became single, I think at like 26.
Okay.
And so it was the first time being single since I was 16, because I was the type of person who was extremely insecure. So what that meant was I basically had the next one lined up before breaking it off with the prior one.
You're like the ideal job hunting candidate. Got the next one lined up before I leave this employer.
Yes. And
Steady
but
paycheck,
really,
you know?
but really it was rooted in like not wanting to face and know myself, right? So
Right, because if you were alone, you would have to face all this pain and go through that.
But I definitely never told that story, right? For me, it was like, oh, I'm a bad bitch. I got the next one set up, like ridiculous faux confidence. Okay. And so.
You still look like a bad bitch, though. And I mean that in the nicest way possible.
Thanks. Growing up with boys, that's what it'll do for you. I have a sister, but we didn't grow up in the same household. So single in my mid-20s, never really did the dating thing, never really been single. And so I was hanging out with a woman friend. She's a mentor of mine. We were in graduate school together, and I opened up to the idea of dating. And she was like, I was like, oh, so someone asked me out on a date. I'm like, oh, I'm going on a date. And then like, she basically got mad at me because I was like going to have him pick me up from my house. And she was like, you don't do that. And I was like, oh,
Why?
right?
What is that? What?
She was like, no, first date, you meet in a public location. I was like, what?
Actually, that makes sense.
No. So listen to this. She really taught me how to be safe as a woman because I had my own house. And I mean, now that I think about it, it's like, yeah, living by myself.
You don't want somebody to know where you live right away.
Right away. Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, I had a gun, but that's okay.
Oh, damn. She's strapped, ladies and gentlemen. Strapped.
And a bat and a knife. No.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
But
you know, I always keep these as a joke. But see,
I saw them.
We got some stuff. It's a BB gun. Calm down. It's a BB gun.
You know, there's orange.
There's orange. Yeah, there's a little orange tip there in case you didn't want to know.
But she's the one who taught me like first date, public location, get the man's first and last name, and text.
Do a background check.
Yeah.
Call 6 of his friends. Call his employer and ask if he actually
Maybe
works
not
there.
all of that stuff. But so what I ended up doing, it became my routine that anytime I was going on a first date, I would send her a text. We're meeting here. This is what I'm wearing.
Did
and his first and last name. And
tracking?
she was like, I never would have thought to have done this, but she was like, what if you don't come home and I'm the last person you talk to and the police are asking me and I can't give them any of this information? And I was like, mind blown. I had no idea.
Never thought about it.
Never thought about it. So I also traveled by myself. So there was one time learning that from her that became my praxis. And then I was in Philly presenting at a conference because, you know, I was a nerd in graduate school.
Nancy, make sure you clip this part out so we can send it to all the ladies that are in the dating scene so they can be as safe as possible.
Yes. I really should share that. Safe
No,
tactic.
that was a very, very useful piece of information right there.
But men too. I mean, men get taken advantage of. So, you know, whatever. It's not.
Yeah. You know how men get taken advantage of? Girl's got 3 dates lined up in the day and she's got breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that's basically about it.
Oh, gosh. But yeah, it was definitely something I hadn't thought of, right? Because there are times where men get pushy on dates or like, I mean, now that I think about it, I kind of like took that out of my memory where like first date and they get really touchy and I'm like, hey, like I don't know you. Like hands off, homie.
I'm actually the complete opposite because I'm a very touchy-feely person.
Girl, please touch me.
So I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how to act any other way. It's like, that's the way I actually handshake and like, I'll give him a hug.
Well, that's
whatever,
how I am now. Like,
you know?
I'm super loving. Everyone I meet, I think when I first met you, I was like, oh, I give hugs. Right. And
I think I'm pretty sure I said me too.
Because, right, that being scared or having creeps doesn't exist in my reality anymore, right? So it did at that point in my life. So not saying to be oblivious, but be safe. And
I think I get it. Like you're saying that, okay, you have to be aware of what exists, and be present with your life because you can't be caught up in, oh my God, there's creeps out there, and oh my God, there's all this negative stuff out there. Because if you keep doing that, then
that's
you're
all
probably
gonna
take any action either, and you're just gonna be stuck.
Yeah, well, then you're also gonna like manifest it. I mean, that could be why I ended up having weirdos like get touchy on the first few dates after thinking like, oh my God, guys are crazy, right? Like the power of our thoughts, right? Like so many people have spoken on this. This is not new information. I mean, Einstein, Wayne Dyer, Abraham or Esther and Jerry Hicks, like it's out there. Everyone, this is not new, right? Where we were talking about energy. One of my favorite movies that helped me understand energy is What the Bleep Do We Know? Have you watched that? I watched that like years ago, like 10 years ago.
What the bleep do we know?
And it's just the power of our thoughts and words and energy. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to check this one out.
Oh,
This sounds interesting.
Right, 2004. It's old.
I mean, it's got 5.4 out of 10, but that doesn't really matter, I think.
It's for people who like energy.
Amanda, divorced photographer, has a fantastic experience when life begins to unravel around her, revealing the cellular, molecular, and quantum worlds
Yes,
that
you have
lie
to like
beneath
quantum
everything.
mechanics to like this.
Man, quantum was hard, man. It didn't make any sense to me, but I understand
Oh no,
it.
it's
I
my
passed
favorite.
it.
Quantum healing is my favorite.
Quantum healing. You got to tell me about this.
Well, it's the belief that everything is connected, right? So as you, and I truly believe this, as you heal yourself, it is collectively healing the whole or the collective.
This is it?
Yep, there's all kinds of ways to do it.
Damn.
But for me, it's that you can instantly heal yourself. So let's take one of the biggest things people want to work through is like a poverty mindset, right?
Being poor, I don't have enough. Okay.
And so,
But what if they really don't?
well, they're living in that reality and they create a new one. And so the way to instantly
Bam.
tap into that is to tap into the energy of wealth or abundance. And so
How does one do this?
that's exactly what I was about to say. So, for example, if someone says to me, or I used to struggle with this, if I was saying to myself, like, if I had this, then I would be whatever, fill in the blank,
Happy,
right?
whatever,
Happy,
fulfilled,
secure.
everything would be.
Usually with finances, it has to do with like security or like not having stress.
So, for example, if I had $20 million, I would feel safe.
Yes. So then it's like, oh, you start to ask yourself, like, how would I feel? Then it's like, oh, then start feeling that. Like, what are the ways that make me feel safe? And then
do
you
it right
almost
now.
like instantly feel your energy shift.
I definitely feel more certain if I have $20 million in my bank account.
Yeah. Or you feel like for women, we carry our stress on our shoulders a lot of the times. And so, and men tend to carry it in their hamstrings a little bit more.
Ooh, that's deep. That's deep.
And so
Your hammies are tight, gentlemen. You carrying stress.
carrying stress, get a roller.
Get a roller. Or the strap to put around your ankle and then
Oh, yes,
stretch
pull it.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that like bodybuilding people know like the things
Yeah, you
that
got to
you do.
stretch them out, man.
Get a tennis ball for your back and shoulders,
go.
ladies, against the wall.
Yeah.
But you can almost instantly start to feel things kind of release. Like maybe you feel that like something's strapped onto your back or anchored or hooked, and you can almost like, oh, right, I can let go of that feeling. I didn't realize how enslaved I was to that mindset. And so the more you tap into the feeling, the more you're actually shifting your energy. You're healing itself, and now it's elevating to a new frequency, and you're going to start living in that frequency. And so of course there's going to be that struggle, right? Especially with something that you're basically reprogramming your subconscious is what's happening.
Gotcha.
So as you're bringing things,
Is this anywhere aligned with neuroplasticity?
I cannot speak on that, but
I
I'm
see.
sure it's similar.
That was like a recent thing that they figured out where basically the structures of your brain can actually
Yes.
be the
John
plasticity,
Assaraf,
meaning it can actually change.
Assaraf,
I
whatever
knew
his
about a
name is.
doctor named Dr. Caroline Leaf. She has a program. She calls it like a 21-day detox. I actually did it. It was really cool. When I was kind of really going through a dark place, and you essentially have like a way of writing down a toxic thought and then replacing the toxic thought with a non-toxic thought, and then you check off every day that you do this at least like 5 times a day.
I did that without taking that course
Yeah.
to heal my relationships with men.
Really?
So, and I have people do this. Actually, the first week of my course, Love Excellence, is
Love excellence.
because you have to learn
good
to
name.
like love to excel,
Right?
because most of us are scared of it.
That's true, because I mean, I think the fear is like, oh, if I got too successful, I don't know, can I handle that life? Do I want to do that? Do I really want to have all that attention? I mean, I have the same kind of blockage sometimes where I'm just like, I feel like I could work really, really hard, but I don't want to.
The number one thing, so most of the people that I work with are current business owners or starting a new business. And so their biggest fear is, I'm scared to launch this. What if it takes off? What if it fucking does? Oh my God, yes, it would be amazing. Then if it does, we will deal with that when we get there. But like the fear of it taking off is like their biggest fear. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But
See, I would have thought if you were able to fail and not being able to get anywhere with it. But I guess that's
No.
too easy because then you can start again.
Yeah. I mean, everyone I feel like that's the common fear, but like the common fear for entrepreneurs is they're already used to like failing forward, right? The concept of failing forward.
That makes a lot of sense.
And so for them, it's like, okay, I'm scared to launch this even bigger one because I need to have all my ducks. It's the downside of being a perfectionist almost is it's heavily tied to procrastination, right? So like, I don't want to move forward.
Analysis paralysis.
Yes.
Happens to me all the time.
Right? You start overthinking and what about this? I need to have everything aligned. And it's like, no, you don't. You don't have to have everything aligned, right? Like starting this podcast, you don't have to have everything. Just start doing. And as you do, you're going to get better and you're going to get better. You're going to develop new ways of editing. You're going to get better material. You're going to get better people to interview.
Hell
You're going to,
yes.
and it's
already getting better. This is number
like,
12.
It's like the unfolding of it is like the beauty of it.
Yes.
And enjoying the journey. And if you stayed stuck at, oh, I have to have everything ready, then you're never going to be fucking ready.
So let me ask you a question that I think would be very useful to a lot of people, including myself, which is, I think you have to have enough of an orientation to kind of take a stab at the first step. Or maybe, I think one of the biggest problems for me that has been is like, I can have everything thought through, like, okay, I want to do all this. And I think I know what it will take to get there. And generally speaking, when I start my day, it's really tough for me to want to get out of bed.
Oh, yes.
But once I'm up and I'm doing stuff, I'm good.
You feel amazing.
I'm good. But for me, it's the challenge. It's like it's just a tough thing to want to get out of bed. And I have done it where like I used to get up at like 4:35 in the morning to go do cardio. But I'll tell you my secret right now. I used to take a caffeine pill and I'd put it on the side of my bed. And there'd be a glass of water right next to my bed. And that's how I would go to sleep. This is when I was a competitive bodybuilder. So I figured out that if I had to get up really early and I really was having a tough time, I would just open my alarm, or when the alarm rang, I'd open my eyes just enough to like peek over and grab the damn caffeine pill. And I'd pop that in my mouth and I'd take a sip of water and I'd go back to sleep. And in about 5 minutes, I'm just like ready to go. I'm like, okay, let's go. But I don't want to do that now, and I don't. But I'm curious. Like,
I love that though.
Getting out of bed. What do you think?
I love this because I think that was the question you asked me the first day I met you.
Yeah. It's a real problem. I'm trying to fix it.
Well, there's a few ways that I can answer this. So first of all, you're saying that it's a problem, right? So it's always going to be a struggle when you're putting the energy of it's a problem, right?
Oh, that's true.
So you're focusing on the problem and not on the solution.
Shit.
Fuck. This bitch is good. No, I'm just kidding. And so there's that. And the second thing is, I actually just shared this in like my live because I get this question a lot.
Really?
I do. I get this question a lot because people who have already started doing, personal development, self-help stuff, all of the like millionaire people say like the best thing to do is wake up at 4 or 5, and they're like, I just can't get up that early. I'm like, don't focus on getting up at 4. Focus on the routine. Focus on the routine.
Yes. That's true that you say that because like, let's say, at least for the last few weeks, my routine has been get up in the morning and then either read, and if I can't get myself to read, go work out and then do it. So it's like almost the consistency is there as to what the actions are going to be for the day, but it's just the time part of like, can I get up?
And now you're beating yourself up based off of some normative time clock. Like define your time clock. Like this is your world.
That's
and
true.
Start to like really own that like everything is working out for me. This is my world. I get to define my world. I don't have to. Now you're falling back into the comparison of like, well, I didn't get up at 5 and all the successful people get up at 5. And it's like, oh, who fucking cares?
Ooh, that's true.
Like if I want to go to bed at midnight and wake up at 8 or whatever it is for you, that's your early.
Yeah.
And then start to see that. And then the more you're focusing on that is your early, you know what? Your early is probably going to get earlier and earlier and earlier. But if you're beating yourself up, it's not going to shift.
Right.
Because you're stuck in the energy of struggle and beating yourself up, and that's not going to happen. So there's that part of it, focusing on the problem, comparing yourself. The other part is with focusing on a solution is bedtime. So you kind of already instinctively did it. You focused at nighttime. What is it that I can do at night to improve my morning? So for you, it was have a caffeine pill ready and some water. That's amazing. That's great because you're like, I can't get up. What can I do about it?
Yeah.
And I'm going to set myself up for success the night before. So what you're actually doing is setting yourself up for success. You're also almost like you're setting the intention for the next day. So energetically, you're shifting the energy to know that you're going to get up. But the story that you're telling is not that. The story you're telling is, I had to be dependent on this pill. No, I just told a different story and it has such different meaning
Very
of the
true.
same situation.
That's a very good point.
So I do encourage people. It's so funny that you would bring this up also because this was what I recorded for my online course this week is how to have a successful morning.
How do people find the online course on the website?
Yes. Go to programs. Love Excellence is the best.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to definitely publish the website so you can find her, but it's xtinageri.com. Boop. Boop. I think it's a very good point that you just made about the story because I've had this realization, we were talking about this before the podcast, that everything in your life is just a story that you tell yourself. It's a narrative that's going on inside of your head. It involves you, who you think you are, who you think you should be,
Oh God.
what you're doing, who your family is, who your problems are, or what your problems are. And all of this is just a story because let's say tomorrow you wake up and you have no memory. Woo! I mean, in one way, you might be like freaking out, but in another way, you just get to start fresh completely.
Every day you can.
And every day you can. And I think that's a very powerful statement right there. Like where even my mental block there is, I have a problem of getting up early. When in reality, that's not entirely true. But in my fixed sort of way of thinking about it, I'm also almost like creating that limitation so that I can have an excuse to say I have a problem getting up early. You know, that's why I don't want to get up early. But I'm creating that in myself. It's not anybody else, and it's certainly not factual. It's more just that's what I've decided to put in there. So I think it's a very good, way of looking at it. So it seems like what a lot of like quantum healing or the energy healing you're doing is getting to the root of the problem, which is generally the dialogue of how you are looking at things, and
Yes.
and like your perceptions about your past and events that have happened in your life. Am I kind of in the ballpark?
Yes.
I feel like that's what it would be, where you would have to get somebody in that zone again and then give a different meaning to that event.
Yes. So with quantum healing, there's different ways to go about it.
What do you use?
I am trained in Reiki, but I also just use like my intuition and I trust whatever it is that I'm feeling. So I personally don't perform, sounds so silly, healings like I used to. I can and I do, but I use more of like my intuition and whatever I'm feeling in my coaching.
Well, so what's different from what you used to do to what you're doing now?
So before, like in a Reiki session, I preferred distance healings as opposed to in-person healings because I've worked with people all over the nation and all over the world. So I learned how to get good at distance healings.
Gotcha.
So in that state, what happens is I ask that person to be somewhere relaxed where they can either fall asleep, whatever, uninterrupted.
Like imagine or...
No, like they need to be able to like be relaxed.
Oh, like go into an environment where you're completely relaxed.
And you can't have any distractions, right?
Okay.
So like if
No
you were
phones.
to meditate or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I will do the same. And I meditate in the sense of I need to be able to let go of this human reality. And then I ask my higher self to take me to where our bodies or our spirits are connected. And then I facilitate the healing in a different dimension.
The ecosystem of where all... No, I mean, look, yes, it does sound really crazy.
But I'm like, but it works. And I've healed people who were in the hospital and they no longer needed to be in the hospital. So
yeah, I'm sure there's always going to be people that are like, well, you know, can you experimentally prove that scientifically and objectively?
There's a great documentary for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Heal, Heal. It's an amazing documentary, and it really talks about that, the power that creates the body can heal the body.
There's the one?
That's it.
That's the one. But what I was trying to say is like, to me, you don't sound crazy. And the reason being because I've done extensive amount of meditation myself, just to kind of get the experience from it, and I still meditate, but not in like the traditional sense where I'm not like always sitting down
Oh
to
yeah.
meditate. I'll use activities
Oh,
to be
definitely.
more, you know, in presence with them, and to see like if I can actually use that to improve my productivity. And then breathing a lot, like, just, oh, that's funny, breathing a lot. Of course I'm breathing, but at the same time more intentionally, trying to like see when I'm feeling anxious to just slow it down and breathe a little bit more deeper and just get myself back in those catches. But I think it's very fascinating where there is this realm, like we talk about energies, or things that have, or forces that exist in our ecosystem that we can't see. I mean, you can't really see the wind, you can't see gravity, you can't see, you know, all kinds of different, like,
Sound.
sound for sure, and like all these different energies that exist, like the three we just talked about. How can you say that they are not real when they for sure have real consequences? So it's like, to me, if an energy healing session can make you feel better or heal you in some way, it just doesn't make any sense to call it that, oh, that's,
Hocus
not real,
pocus.
or it's, yeah, exactly. It's like, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. I think where probably people take it too far is where they like substitute that for like traditional medicine and healing, where they say like, oh, that stuff is useless, do this. Then it's like, well, you're just being dogmatic about your beliefs again, like your way is the only way. So,
That's the only wrong way.
but you know what? It's important because we're talking about this subject, and I can sense that somebody would be turned off where they would think, oh, that's bullshit. Like, I don't want to believe in any of that. This is stupid. But at the same time, you being so closed minded of it is just being ignorant of things that definitely exist. Just like if you were to go and jump off of a building, you're not going to float. You're going to fall and hit the ground because of gravity, because it does
Yes.
exist, whether you believe in it or not. So I think that's a very valid point to kind of just like bring to the table when we're talking about this. So everything you said made perfect sense to me in terms of like, I for sure feel and have experienced that we are in this world. And if you meditate, or anybody can try this and experience it for yourself, to acknowledge this exists. It's like you can feel your body so much that when you sit there, there comes a point where you can almost feel like, is there really a body that I'm feeling, or is it just this aura, or am I just picturing that I'm feeling my body? And you really can go places with that, because you can see that there is no limitation to that, and you
None.
can you feel like you're a part of everything around you. It sounds crazy, but experientially I could say, so does, bodybuilding sound crazy. Well, you mean I can just move my arm like this and it's just gonna get big? You bet your ass it will, because that's how it works. It's like, yeah, your arm wasn't 20 inches, it started with 13, but you kept doing it, and it got there.
Um, I love that you're saying all of that stuff. I think with bodybuilding, how it's so connected to the mind, right? So
It's
if
all
you're,
manifestation.
it is. That's like we keep. It's like we're beating the drum over and over. But
I'm a drummer, so it's okay.
it's my
I
son
don't
loves the
mind.
drums.
Oh, you should bring him over. We'll play. It'll be
He
fun.
loves the drums. He has a drum teacher and he has private drum lessons.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
But like you said, it is manifesting, because I didn't see shifts in my body until I started to appreciate my body and love the process. Like,
Yes.
it is a love, it can be a love-hate relationship, but if I kept saying, I suck at this, I can't lift heavier, I'm going to stay at that plateau and my body's not going to shift. Or like that happened. So I was 25 pounds smaller, and, I was like 100 pounds. I'm 126 now, and I feel great. And I eat way more food now, and I'm much more lenient with my intake. Like I had cookies
And you're a
last night.
vegan, for people that don't know,
Yes,
which
I
is
only
pretty
eat
cool
the plants.
too. Yeah.
Which was a part of like my self-love journey, and we can talk about that or not another day. But when you honor what you're doing, then you just see it just grows. It just
Yes.
grows, right? Like,
You
oh,
give it
I want this, like,
attention.
oh, I want this bicep to grow. And I think it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger would talk about, like, yeah, you like have to like mind body, like mind muscle connection,
Mm-hmm.
give life to it. If not, it's not going to grow. You're going to just be like,
Yeah. A lot of working out is actually seeing results in your body before they actually appear, and using that as incentive to keep going and to keep working hard and pushing and doing it consistently, because you mold yourself, into what it is that you are. So I think a lot of this energy healing stuff to me is just, it seems very much like,
it's very similar to
yeah,
bodybuilding.
very much the same thing. And like more and more that I learn about psychology and what we know about psychology from a clinical perspective, and what we've researched and figured out, a lot of those techniques are also present in clinical practices of psychology, where you do regression therapy, you do things where you walk a client back to an event or a memory, and you basically get them to sit in that state and describe everything that they feel, and you make a map out of all the things that they feel and where they go. And I mean, it's a little bit more of a process driven thing, but it's like, how is that any different than what you're doing? It's just a different environment. It's a little bit more natural, so to speak. In some ways perhaps the clinical is more natural if you think that's your science-based mindset. But it's just like, if you haven't found an answer through traditional means, you got to go the non-traditional route. You got to find other ways, because there are other ways, and the internet's beautiful for that, right? We can find things that we didn't know about before because of, like people like you putting information out there.
But you do need to heal yourself.
Yes.
Like, or you're
Can't
just
give
gonna
up on
stay in a dark place, and that's no one wants to stay there. You
Yes.
know, like I mean, for me, it's an ongoing journey, and life is. But I think the first dark place for me was in graduate school, and that's when I really learned that like our body communicates with us. And your body,
It'll tell you. Yeah.
It'll tell you when something's wrong. And within your mindset and within your spirit, it will tell you something is not right here. And I had really bad acne, like all over my face. My face was swollen. My brothers called me pizza face.
Wow.
I probably have a picture here that we can show you.
Wow. Appreciate you showing that. That's pretty vulnerable.
Oh, that's me. Let's see here. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, damn. Let me show the camera. Yo, check this out. So this was you, and then so tell me what changed. How did you get from the left to the right?
And so now whenever I break out, I know what the fuck it is. And so it's now become like a beautiful thing for me. So like now I have a little bit of like breakouts right now, and that's my trigger now of like, oh, something within my spirit is misaligned. I'm not being true with myself. So that's for me, my trigger or my sign that I need to.
So your body's telling you with the acne that there's something that you need to fix.
Yes. And so with that, I was so focused on the outer and my body that I did what I think most anyone would do is like you go to doctors, you go to dermatologists, you try all this fucking shit and none of it works.
Proactive.
Yes, I did it all, and it just made it
Fucking
made
tried
it worse.
Proactive too at one point when I was a teenager.
And that's when I met the woman who I was seeing someone else, and she helped me. But really, this is gonna sound so silly. I landed on the book The Magic. Have you read The Magic? Oh God,
The Magic, eh?
I fucking love this book.
Yeah, let me look at it.
Rhonda Byrne's The Magic, and it is all about using the power of gratitude to change your life. And so she's the same lady who wrote The Secret. Everyone knows The Secret and The Power, but they don't know The Magic. The Magic is the shit. Everyone should read this one first.
Really? There's a lot of stuff that like people talk about, the secret and the magic, or maybe the whole manifestation. And I think the speculation is that it's bullshit. It doesn't work. I mean, I think it's incomplete in what people understand about it.
People who think it doesn't work aren't doing it correctly.
They probably aren't doing the work. They're probably just thinking too much about manifesting and not doing any work.
Well, and what we said about aligning with the energy, right? So when I said quantum healing is about instantly healing yourself,
Right.
removing the blocks that have been blocking you for decades, if not lifetimes. Right. And to do that, sometimes it takes continual work. Like you said, you had to you were reprogramming your subconscious with neuroplasticity, right?
Yes.
Like this thought has been your thought pattern forever. And so it's like when you do this, right, you have a normal way of putting your hands
like
over.
either you do this way or you go the other way.
So then you do it the other way, and it's not hard.
Also with this, right?
Yeah.
You go like this.
Like, either
I'm a
way.
right. What am I? My right goes under, I guess.
And same with like how I cross my legs when whatever. When
People shift their weight to one side or the other.
And so it's not that making the shift is difficult. It's just different. Right?
It's not natural to you anymore.
That's actually what I have people do in the first week of Love Excellence is you have to retell your narrative. And I have them do it for just one particular moment in their life instead of like, we're not trying to do a whole fucking life.
That'll take a long time.
Yeah, it takes a while. But
go back to the first memory you have. And let's start there.
Take a simple
I don't know why
one.
I'm a British guy.
But like we did with your morning routine, it was like we can shift the narrative of how you tell this story, and it begins to tell a new story.
I don't have a getting up early problem anymore.
No, we just
I'm gonna get up at like 5 tomorrow.
And so I have them do this as like throughout the week, just like do this to realize, oh yeah, I am like literally reprogramming. I'm doing something different. So it's not difficult. There's a shift that's happening. I forgot where I was going with that shift thing.
I think you were talking about how like the magic of the secret is not.
And my skin. That's what I was going to do. So this book landed in my lap and I started reading it and I was like in love, yet at the same time skeptical.
That's okay. I'm very skeptical.
And I was like, it's hocus pocus bullshit.
Yeah.
This is before getting certified in Reiki, before any of my fitness, self-love, before any of that stuff.
Right.
So maybe this is what ignited it or invited it into my energy field, right? Who knows? Doesn't matter. But I decided there's one of the practices in there is like envisioning things as if, right? Of how you want them. Mm. And so it really is about anchoring gratitude. And so much, it's actually come up twice this week where people think the attitude of gratitude is not what it's supposed to be. So I like that we talked about like they're misusing the magic or misusing manifestation because there's more to it than just saying, oh, think that you're going to be there. What I have to say about that is with gratitude, you have to truly be thankful and not like,
I'm thankful for this. Yeah. Versus feeling it internally, right?
Some people are like, but you should be grateful. So then it's still stuck in this lack mindset, like a settling. You're not going to be grateful and settle. You're going to be grateful because you're like, fuck yeah, I got this shit and I'm going to get more. So an attitude of gratitude is really being thankful that everything that you have and that more is coming and not the, oh, well, at least I have a job.
Yeah.
Like I have a job and it's
genuine.
amazing. Like, yeah, it's not genuine
enough.
And so that was like a new realization, like, or I was around some people and they were like, yeah, but having an attitude of gratitude is just like settling. And I was like, in what world? Because in my world, every time I have an attitude of gratitude, I get more abundance.
Preach.
So you got to make sure you're really coming from a place of gratitude, really being thankful instead of coming from this like settlement or lack mentality. So the gratefulness, then you have to take action. Like you can't just be like, oh yeah, I want this body, but I'm going to go eat a donut. Like now you're just conflicting.
Misalign.
Yeah. So you have to align with what you want. So in this book, I was being thankful for clear skin. And so more as I was thankful, I was actually able to pay attention to things that would clear my skin, that would come into my energy field or into my life.
Up until that point, it's not that you didn't know how to take care of acne. It's just that now you were more focused on the solution of, I have this and I want to fix this. Mm-hmm. And so the solution focus got you things to come into your life.
So I met this woman and we became friends, and then we became
Homies.
like business partners, and like we're like business accountability partners. And so like she has her spa, and we meet every 2 weeks, and like we help each other grow. And like it all sparked from like me reading some magical book about clearing my skin. Like,
Wow.
but you can
Any tips that you want to share
for
clearing your skin
oh
that you think are universal, anybody could try? I think it has to do with the diet too.
it has a lot. I mean, that's why I first initially removed dairy. So like if we're gonna speak on the physical, yeah, there's things that we can do. I think that acne has to do with self-worth. Whenever you're feeling like you're not good enough or fit to do something is why acne comes out. So whenever, and that for me is typically when I'm stressed. Maybe I have a new project that's coming, right? So I have this event that we are co-organizing, a fundraiser on Monday, which is the Divine Vegan, and it's a social market and it's
Where
a
is it at?
fundraiser. It is at Eco Chic Salon in Hillcrest, and I started having some self-doubt. Like, am I good enough? Can I do this? Is it gonna fall to poo-poo? And that was controlling me, right? I was giving it power, right? It came into my reality and I let it totally take me over. And I had to make that shift, right? So it's like we learn these tactics doesn't mean that life is gonna be like smooth sailing. Oh my gosh, I have become the master.
Right.
Like it's that we live in this human world, and so we're always going to be having those moments of resistance and things that are going to jolt us and knock us off our path. And it's about getting back to, not even getting back, because I don't think there's ever a going back personally. Is like, all right, how can I transform and grow with this? What can I learn here? How can I move forward? And so I recognized that that was happening and was like, I need to shift my, it was like I had to take my own class. I need to shift my narrative here and speak what I want and give power to what I want. And it's totally changed it. And it's like, oh, my skin's clearing up. The things that are aligning are beautiful. Like I had big companies reach out and like other people are like sponsoring and like stuff that I didn't even go after. Like they came to me. And so it was just like, wow, really? Really? Like you'd think I'd be not struggling with bad thoughts.
Yeah.
But like,
fair enough. But you're human.
We're human.
Yes.
Exactly. So it makes me more real and relatable. It's like, yeah, I still battle with this. Of course I still battle with this.
And I think that's a really good point that you bring up, is that no matter how much of a positive influencer you're trying to be, the reality is you also have your bad days. You also have your struggles that you're still working on. That doesn't mean that I'm better than you if I'm putting out a positive message or something that I think is, the energy I want to put out. It's in alignment with who I'm trying to be. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very valid. And I think that's good. I guess I'm curious, do you think that people that are faking it and putting out all this social media hype about their lifestyle and not really having it be the way it is, what level do you think of that is, perhaps
right.
doing the same thing with that in mind versus, just blindly doing it without really knowing? I mean, it's a hard thing to kind of know, but I'm just curious your perspective.
That is a very hard thing. And I really like that question because there's power in being honest with yourself of what is it that you truly want. So if they know why they want what they want,
yeah,
then I think the intention is there. If they're doing it because they think this is what they're supposed to have, or this is what they think other people think that they're supposed to have, then it's not a true intention.
Wow. That makes a lot of sense.
Right?
Yes.
Then it comes from this lack place. I'm not good enough as I am. I'm not complete.
Right.
And so they're living in a facade.
Yeah, and that's going to be disappointing at one point because you're going to figure out that, hey, this is really not working out. And I think I agree with that. Because there is something to like kind of making yourself believe that you can get this thing. And then there's like this ignorance of, well, I should have this, or I guess this entitlement.
Got to get rid of all the shoulds.
Yeah.
Shoulda, woulda, couldas, all of those. Need to. No.
Yeah.
You're good as you are.
Who needs to? Who should? Good questions. I think one thing I want to kind of talk about here real quick is, at least in my experience, this has been sort of my understanding of our existence, and we were talking about this before the podcast just a little bit, which is I've come to realize that we got into this planet, we got into this world, this ecosystem, and we came here from a place unknown. We didn't ask for it. We got here. And now we realize that there's a day that we all die, and that we have a timeline that we get to spend here. We get to spend here is a very, very key part of that, because
it's privilege.
It's a privilege for sure, because it could end any minute. And, kind of knowing just those things, I feel that there's these few questions that are internally at the root of all of our deep suffering. That could be anxiety, that could be on the surface anxiety, that could be on the deep level, like very dark depression, any layers of those, it doesn't matter. Like the roots of what I think are the suffering is these questions of, why am I here? What should I be doing here? And, what is it that I'm supposed to, or I guess like I should say, it's better spoken, like, what am I doing here? Why am I here? And what should I be doing here? Because you have to figure out what you should do, right? Because what the hell are you going to do if you don't, like, you're just going to sit there? So you have to define like things that are valuable to you to pursue, but where you figure out those things of value is also kind of important, because they can't be selfish only. They have to transcend out, like they have to be good for you, for your immediate, like, close surroundings, because I can't just go outside and like start shooting a gun in the air, right? Like that's not good for anybody, right? Except for maybe if it makes me feel good for like 5 seconds, but that's terrible for all the other people that live here. So that's what I mean by, like, you have to have boundaries around what you value and to do action wise. But at the same time, it's like it seems like there's no objective answers to any of this, and everything that anybody tells you is just a story about what they think they should do here, what they think they should be doing here. So like you said, the story can be edited, which is sort of the key to this, is that, you can have a story about why you think you're here and a reason behind why you're doing something, but don't kid yourself to think that you have some purpose here that is superseding everybody else's, and like it's like your divine thing and you're the only one with it. It's not true. It's like everybody has something like that in their head, and just being understanding of that framework that I feel that we're all operating under, because we all have to agree on it. Like, you don't know why, I don't know why, but we're both doing our best to figure out what we find meaningful, and hopefully that is also in alignment with, like, it doesn't harm the two of us. Like, I think those are sort of like the fundamental better ideas, because they're all ideas. It's just some ideas are better than others. And so I find it so difficult where somebody would preach that they think their idea is like superseding everybody else's, and that's the idea they should follow, when they're not realizing that it's just an idea that they have. They don't have any way of proving it that that's the only way. And this is, I don't know, this is just sort of like the baseline. I don't want to add too many layers to this, but I feel that's the suffering, is kind of internally we're not sure of what it is that we're here for or why we're here.
I think internally we do. And the more we quiet our mind and we listen to that little voice in our heart, our purpose is so simple and we overcomplicate it. I keep talking about my program because we cover that in week 3.
That's okay.
It just means I'm awesome. But
somebody will get a value out of it and they'll do it.
But so much came up there. And I want to give an example of my choice to be vegan, because my choice to be vegan is very different than most other people's choices to be vegan. So I think at our core, I have a lot of faith in humanity, and people can think I am an optimist, and that's amazing, or whatever they want. So I truly believe that we are love, all of us.
I agree with you, because that was actually the caveat to my little long rant there, was that it seems to me the only thing that calms that suffering down is the strong sense that you get from being love. And I mean being the verb
Being.
love, not
Yes.
just like I love you
No,
or this, but like
exactly.
you have to act from a place of love
Yes.
and give that as much as you can because it's the only thing you have to give.
Yes. And love heals. And that's why I called my program Love Excellence, because
It's the
for
hippie show
me,
tonight.
I'm hippie from the hood, homie.
Oh, hippie from the hood. That should have been your Instagram handle.
Every
It's the
time
hippie
people,
from the hood.
everyone always says that, because I grew up, in a hood area, and I had some hood
Are
practices
you a San
growing up.
Diegan?
Born and raised.
Really?
Where
Were you born in San? What's the hood in San Diego?
I was born in Encanto.
In Canto. I don't even know where the hell that is.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. Anything south of the 8, they don't know, right?
Yeah, we don't go that far.
You don't go that far.
I live on the beach for a reason.
But love. So you have to, I was also fed up with people thinking they needed to go to like healers to like solve their problems. I'm like, no, you have this fucking power. You can do it your damn self. And so that's why I created this program, for you to learn how to heal yourself, empower yourself, love yourself, and excel at all areas of your life. Like, you have this within you, and it's not that difficult. Like, stop making it difficult. And I made it super cheap because I was tired of like coaching programs. It's like $177 right now. It's $97, but
Oh, get it on wide sale.
get it right. Get it right now.
ChristinaGeri.com.
But because I was
Maybe
tired
we should give them a
of,
promo code for watching the podcast.
we can.
Okay.
What should we? The Blossom.
Okay.
Blossom.
Let's call it Blossom Media. That could be your coupon code. Maybe you'll get another $10 off or something.
We will do it. We'll make it $88 for people.
Oh, $88 special offer for Blossom Media Studio. Check it out.
Side note, if you're into angel numbers and synchronicity, seeing multiple 8s brings abundance.
Wow.
Magic.
That's cool.
So love, right? I love that you said about being love, the verb, living. I say living in the frequency of love, because when you're living from this, right, I like to think of things in terms of energy. Mm-hmm. And if you're tuned into like a radio station, like say you're tuned into 92.5, you're not going to hear what's at 106.7.
Okay.
Right?
Yep, makes sense.
So I'm always, when I am doing healings or whatever, I'm trying to raise people's frequency before they start talking about the crap that goes on down here. Because if we just go down there, you're going to actually plug into that frequency of everything that happened at that bad stuff, and you start to relive it, right? So it's like, women are notorious for this, right? When, say, you get into an argument with your girlfriend, wife, and then all of a sudden she brings up all of this stuff, and you're like, how does she even remember that?
I think I know what you're talking about.
And on energy, like energetically speaking, it's because everything that happened at that frequency now just comes right back into your energy field. So what I really try to focus on is like, okay, if you're not ready to talk about that because you're going to actually relive it and hash up all that energy, then what can we do to raise your frequency? How can we get you higher before we actually start getting to the root of the problem? I don't like to go to the root if people aren't ready to rise above. So that's one of my tactics. Now, in living from a space of love, you can't judge or say my way or the highway. That's not loving. That's not.
Right.
That conflicts with what love is. And I believe we are love. And so I made a conscious decision when I was working on myself, learning self-love, and realized that I took ownership of everything that was happening in my life, of like, I hear all this stuff.
It's not going to be on the recording. Don't worry. It's too low of a frequency.
Got it.
That's why we got all this good shit in here, you know? We got this figured out.
We only mess with the good stuff.
Only the good stuff.
Sorry. It's totally
It's so funny, right? Okay.
But so I chose to come from a space of love and to actually live that. And so that meant I had to hash out all my poo-poo.
Right.
And in that decision, I chose to be vegan because I didn't want to, if I'm going to live as love, I can't put anything into my body that was produced in death and dying. So that was my choice. I'm vegan for self-love. I'm not vegan for the animals. I'm not vegan for the environment. I'm not vegan for politics. However, when we choose to truly live from a space of love, there's no harming another. And my choice to go vegan is an example of that. right? I'm not harming other animals. I'm not harming the environment and all of these other things. And so for me, it really is always about returning to or going to love. When something is bad is happening in my life, I'm like, okay, how can I bring love to this situation?
Right.
And I truly believe that,
And
like,
what
we
are
wouldn't
your
have wars, we wouldn't have all these things.
what are some things that you do to kind of elevate yourself to the state where you're more loving and acting from that place?
Meditating, journaling, surrounding myself with people who,
Sounds like the same shit I say.
it's like the same things, right?
Yeah.
But really learning to be self-aware, really being critical of that self-talk, because we beat ourselves up so much. Like
All day
that's
long.
the natural habit. So
And at
learning,
night.
yeah, like learning to be like, there it is, and bringing it into the conscious, bringing the subconscious into the conscious, and making those shifts. And in being vegan for love, I will not judge someone who's not vegan. And so this has come up in the vegan community, where it causes a little weirdness, is that if someone comes over to my house and they eat meat, I will cook them meat, because I am vegan for love and I'm not vegan to make a political statement.
I like that.
And if I'm being loving, I'm going to love someone where they are as they are, and not push my
So
ideals
if they
on
like
them.
to eat meat, that's okay. I'm not gonna shun them for that.
No, no,
Like that.
because
Respect that.
it's very judgmental, right? And I think the bad rap that a lot of people who use the term vegan, right, is that like, oh, now you're about to push your ideals on me. Kind of like when someone says they're Catholic or Christian, like, oh, here we go, you're about to like convert me. And it's the same thing. It's like, oh my gosh, now you just have taken it with veganism, or you've taken it with New Age or whatever, and you're now, it's like you haven't gotten away from anything. You're doing the same
The
thing.
problem is with so being attached to an ideology that you believe in and then shoving that down to other people and making them either get on board with you or they're not people you want to deal with. And that's a tough place to be because, and I think my realization has been like you can't hold on to any belief so strongly that you let that belief be your entire existence. That's what it's all about for you and nothing else. Like beliefs, and what I mean by beliefs are like things like these ideological beliefs where you think your way is better than everybody else's way. That's what I'm specifically like talking about. And that is problematic, and it's a large part of why we're seeing so much sort of resistance, or I don't even know what the word is. It's almost like you can see the rips in our world today, especially like even politically. You can see it, and you can see it with the internet being a little bit more giving people a voice. You can see where we're kind of going in a path that could be corrected very easily. And I don't want to be a negative, about it, but it's like there are people doing it where it is getting better. It's not to say that everything is getting worse. It's just so easy to assume because everybody thinks that everything's going to shit. And we just love that. It's actually a negativity bias that we have. We're more prone to pick out negative information because it's actually biologically useful for our survival. Right. So
That's the human experience.
right. So it's like you're going to pick up negative stimulus from wherever you can, even if it's in a passing manner, but you may not pick up a positive stimulus in a passive manner. So you have to really train yourself to recognize and be aware of all the positive stuff that is also around you and all the things you could be like. I just notice even myself now, I could be walking around and I'm starting to look at more flowers just naturally. Like I didn't ever used to notice flowers as much as I do now
Or
in
birds
my life.
flying by.
Yeah,
Or
whatever
other
it is.
humans.
Just your surrounding, like just noticing. And it's so easy to just ignore all of that. You had something?
So we were speaking of meditation, right? And there's so many different ways to meditate. And you also talked about like things that we do can just become a meditative process, right? So going on a walk can actually be a meditative process. Like for me, what meditative process means is being so fully present and experiencing something like it was the first time.
Without any preconceived notions about it.
And once someone has children, you really get to see this because children, like, they'll be so fascinated with like a trash can. And you're like, oh my God, that's disgusting. Get away.
Yeah.
But he's never seen it. And like we're at the park and it's shiny and like, oh my God, what is this? right? And so you can do this simple, like take a strawberry and like close your eyes and imagine if you've never seen a strawberry or never held it or tasted it or anything. And so like you experience it and you're like, oh my gosh, what is this?
Yeah.
It tastes so much better. It's juicy or it's tart or it's sweet, like depending on the strawberry. It feels crazy. And
You
like,
can feel the little seeds on it. There's so much to, I've been doing that more when I take a shower now, instead of like thinking when I'm taking, because I'm very a quick shower person. I take like no more than like a 2-minute shower.
oh God,
Maybe 3 minutes.
you're definitely not a girl.
I'm very quick with my showers. But I've been noticing that even in that time that I take my showers, and the reason is because like it was a habit from when I was a bodybuilder, I would work out like sometimes 3 times a day. So I was showering like 3 times a day, and I didn't want to waste that much water or have it take so long. So it became like a habit now. And I'm still having the problem where I eat so fast because I was eating 6 to 7 times a day.
I have that
where now
problem.
I want to slow down my eating so I can actually appreciate the food I have and fill my belly and enjoy it. So like with a shower, I'll get in and I'll start to feel like where the water hits the different parts of your body. You start to feel and appreciate, like if it's a warm shower or whatever it is. Like some people like to take cold showers, definitely not me, but you can feel that all of these sensors in your body come alive, you know, instantaneously as you move around and the water is like kind of going all over you. It's a really like cool meditation in itself, just to kind of see, I'm not going to think for this shower or this 2 minutes or whatever, and I'm just going to be present with the flow of the water hitting my body. And you'll realize that like that 2 minute or 3 minute shower, I actually like looked at the clock one day. It felt like I was in there for like 20 minutes, but I was only in there for like 3 minutes. Seriously. It was so crazy.
Deepak Chopra has this notion that like, right, time is an illusion, and you have the power to like pause time when you become so fully present in a moment. So a moment can last forever, or a moment can go by like that.
Yes.
And the more you choose to sit in what for me is like presence, or for me is like, I call what you're doing like a state of appreciation, you're just really appreciating everything as it is.
Yes.
And it really pauses time.
Yes, it does.
And it's so magical.
It is. It's pretty cool. I've been trying to incorporate that in some of the tasks that I don't enjoy doing.
Oh, yes.
To see where the resistance comes in. Like if I'm really dreading like reaching out to this person because I need to ask them for them to give me money for the money they owe us. It's like, I know it's not fun and I know I'm going to have to like kind of play it, but then I just try to be really like present with it. And as I'm writing the words, I'm trying to be more mindful of the things I'm writing, and, you know, being more, and more times than not, the response is unbelievably better than what I would have ever imagined it to be, because I was just not trying to like dread it.
Because you weren't focused on the problem.
Yes. Oh, that's the one. So you were talking about, by the way, we're definitely not going to get through everything on this one. So you're going to have to come back.
Oh, I'll come as many
All
times.
right? You're going to have to keep coming back, because we're now in an hour 24 into this, which just feels like we just started. And I don't even think we're going to be able to unfold everything.
Time is an illusion, right?
Yes. It totally is. That flew by fast. I'm not going to lie. I want to know a few more things just to kind of get a better gauge of you, since this is really the first time you and I are actually talking.
I know.
You know, like we've never really talked before.
We've never really met. I mean, like we met, but it was like...
It was just like
super
for,
brief.
20, 30 minutes or something. We were at the beach. We were having the Blossom Bonfire, which will happen soon again. I think we're going to do another one this quarter. So please come out to that.
I will. I'll bring some friends.
Bring some friends. So let's socialize. Let's get this going. But I want to know a little bit about, you having a son, and I want to know, how is it that you are raising your kid? Because I'm very curious, I want to have kids one day, and I want to know, there's things that you have to like kind of, this is a program. It's like this kid is ready to absorb. So you got to be kind of careful of what you orient them towards and all that. But I want to do it in a way where I'm not being like a overprotective, so I'm curious as to what you found and like kind of things that, what you could talk to about that aspect of, being a mom and raising a child. Because how old is your son now?
He's 4.
He's 4. So he's still very young. I mean,
still very young, but definitely has his own opinion. which is something I fostered. So I chose to stay home the first 3 years. I was in my PhD program, like I said, when I was pregnant, and was working with the spa. And I chose to stay home with him because for me, it was revolutionary to, because before that, I was an early childhood play therapist in elementary schools, and I saw like how messed up children can get with split households. And since we were a split household from the beginning, not only it wasn't about staying home because I wanted to protect him. It wasn't that. It was that something in me knew that we had work to do together. And so I needed to stay home. And like I said, it was revolutionary for me in the sense of I'm going to choose to stay home. And that's not the norm for where I was coming from as a working mom, who's a single mom, right? Because typically you wouldn't do that. Ooh,
Make them
changes
a little
colors.
bit bright. Oh yeah, this thing's fun. Just change all kinds of colors. Sorry.
So I think with parenthood, there's all of these ways that we can start to police ourselves, right? Even in like the asking of the question, I
Sounds
felt
like
like
you're saying you became more self-aware by having to interact with a child.
Yeah.
You have to be.
you have to be. But yes, Malachi saved my life. I was in a dark place when I became pregnant with him, and he is really what helped me tap into my spirituality, because things were happening to him as a baby, and I started going to the doctors, and the doctors couldn't do it, and there was nothing wrong with him. So I was not
Like medically,
forced.
there was other stuff going on with
he
him.
was like pooping like blood, and like
I would freak the fuck out.
I
if that
freaked
happened
the
to my
fuck
child.
out. Okay. And then like there was one time where he like threw up, and it was totally like a scene from The Exorcist.
Oh,
I freaked out.
projectile.
Yeah. Like not just projectile, like craziness. Cause they're like, oh yeah, projectile vomiting happens. I'm like, no. This was like brown stuff coming out of his mouth, like across the room.
Oof.
And he hadn't had anything brown. And so I was like, no, something's wrong here. Like, and every time I'd be like, oh, he's a happy baby. I'm like, something's wrong. And so I was forced to seek out alternative healing. And that's when I got introduced to Reiki and learning how to protect his energy and all of this stuff. And that's shifted. For me, it's all about, I don't like the term protecting our energy. And this happens a lot of times in energy healing spaces where people are like, oh, cut out the negativity.
But it also seems like it's a maternal instinct for you to protect your child anyway. So you're almost like, I mean, the only example I have is the Harry Potter example of, how when he has the scar because his mom protected him with all the love. It's a motherly thing to do.
Yes, it is for sure. Definitely. But I've had to, in becoming self-aware, change what protection means. Shift my notion or definition of protection and what that looks like. Because I believe his spirit knows what's best for him. And I also believe that our spirits know. And so it's always about shutting off my human mind and trusting him, which is really hard to do when your human self wants to be like, he's 4, he doesn't know better.
Right.
Or it's my role as his parent to show him what to do and how to act. Not necessarily. We come into this world knowing who we are, and then we go through this process of unknowing, and then in adulthood we go through, who the fuck am I? And you go on the search to find who you are.
Because you forgot.
Right? The amnesia. And so for me, it's about keeping Malachi tuned into who he truly is for as long as possible, because that's part of his human experience, is like he's going to have to go through that process. So if I can give him as many tactics to be self-aware, then that's awesome. And it's not about me. Even in my parenting, I don't impress my ideals on my child. He's not vegan. That would be his choice.
I think a lot of parents do that, where they look to, and I think it's partly is loving. Like for example, I can speak to my family, right? Like I have an older brother who is disabled. He has muscular dystrophy, so he has never like walked for more than a few steps at a time. And so when I was born, and he's my older brother, so when I was born, like a lot of my parents' love and expectation about, they want me to be the best I can be because I've been given something that my brother hasn't, which is the ability to, operate in this universe in a different way. So I can see that, but at the same time, like every parent tries to do the best they can, I would imagine, to raise their child to what they knew. And it's just such a weird place where you don't want your child to become like, okay, I want this kid to be like the manifestation of everything that I wasn't, and I want this kid
Oh,
to
so
go
many parents do that though.
right. But there has to be some, I guess, in some ways that used to motivate me as well as a kid to like, seek happiness for my parents and maybe do things that I thought would make them happy. At least for my mom, for sure. It's really difficult to impress my dad. But at the same time, it's like, do you think there's a balance there, or is it, like what do you feel about that?
I think the balance is shifting, and it really, like, the more you become self-aware, like as the parent, the more you can see how you're controlling or not controlling your child. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can imagine. I wouldn't know yet.
I mean, it's having a child has, I thought I was going to be a certain way as a mom, and I thought I was going to be like disciplinarian. I thought I was going to be this way and that way, and I would never do that. And it's like everything I said I would never do, it's almost like I've done. And so there's really no way of telling what kind of parent you're going to be until you become one, because as you become one, you change.
Right.
Right? We're ever evolving. We're constantly changing. And when you bring a child into the mix, it's a part of that process. And same with like if you have a partner or not. And I will say that you get to control, again, like our minds are so powerful, right?
Right.
You get to control what you believe. And so don't let the outside world determine what you want to believe. So I gave birth to my child without screaming. And because I didn't give power to a painful delivery. I had heard that there were people who had given birth without pain. And I said, I want that.
Ooh, that's powerful.
And because I opened myself up to that more, and I learned of more and more stories of women giving birth without pain.
Wow.
And I gave birth to Malachi without screaming. It was really beautiful. It was a meditative process. I learned from a hypnotherapist how, like, it was a moment of, I was made for this. My body knows what to do. Me letting go, my mind letting go and trusting my body and trusting my spirit through this process. Wow. And so that's what I mean by like letting go of the control, because our mind thinks it knows everything and it doesn't. So going through those balancing moments all the time as a parent, it gets challenged of like, what is actually my belief and what am I actually doing? And so becoming self-aware of all of that stuff. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense.
And so,
at least to me.
Yeah. Like for me, it was like when I was giving birth, it was a moment of like, I'm going to connect with this being and communicate with him. And I'm going to allow him to do the work and not me. And
you're saying basically, I think in a nutshell, is that there's this hyperactive story in the mind that's always going to be saying things. You just have to be aware enough to know that that story is not always evidence-based. It's a lot of it's projection. A lot of it is anticipation about what could happen. Your mind is designed to do that. But like you said, there's a part of you that can just simply be present with the situation you're in, and in this example of giving birth, rather than fighting with your mind, because I'm sure there was like, actual body pain of whatever it was.
Oh yeah.
But it's like, how do I react to that? Am I going to just scream and shout and resist, or I'm going to succumb to what it is and let the natural process flow. And I think that's very, very powerful and can be multiplied to any aspect of life.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
And it's the same with parenting. I mean, like, I really wanted him to be his own thinking, outspoken self, and I have fostered that. And sometimes it bites me in the butt, but it's like, no, that's what I wanted. I wanted him to have his own opinion. So I encourage that. And so when he speaks up and he says he doesn't want to do something, I'm like, fuck, all right. That's actually what I want. I don't want you to do everything that I say.
Right.
I want you to think.
Autonomous.
Yeah.
I saw, I might have seen it or I might have read it somewhere, but I'm definitely very interested in like clinical, like psychological development stuff. And I like to read about just our mind's development and behavior and belief systems and things like that. So I think it was said somewhere that if you have a child, you should always give your child a choice or two choices minimum, but let them choose.
I do that all the time.
And then don't give them like, 50 choices, but give them like a subset.
Yeah, do you want the red or the blue?
Yeah, the autonomy there to choose. So that way they can feel that they can make decisions on themselves and they're not looking to you all the time to make a decision for them.
Yes.
I think that's very powerful because as a kid, yes, you should feel more and more that you can take care of yourself, and that translates to your adult life. And I think what happens when you have like a mental breakdown, most of the time it's like you lose sight of how to take care of yourself. You can't figure it out. It's like, yeah, at that time, I think running home to mommy and daddy is probably the best thing if you have that privilege to do. So, wow, that's really powerful, man. That's crazy. You didn't actually like have a crazy childbirthing experience. You're probably the first person I've ever talked to. I do have a friend who I met on the plane. She is in San Diego, and I want to try to get her on. She is also a healer, but she does. She's a what do you call it?
A doula?
House? No.
Oh, a midwife?
A midwife who actually delivers or helps you deliver your child at your own home. And she told me that on the plane. I was like, lady, you crazy? What's wrong with you? Why would you do that? And
no, I tell people all the time, if I were to have another child, because I don't know if I will, I'll probably give birth out in the woods.
What? That's crazy. That's crazy. Too crazy for me. But she was telling me all about this whole process. And I want definitely get her on. But really interesting stuff because it's almost like she's taking things back to how we used to do them.
This is what our bodies
we're
know
designed
how to do.
Like you said, biologically, your body knows exactly what needs to be done for you to deliver this child.
And it's not meant that every woman should have children or that everyone should be in a heterosexual relationship. I don't believe that. But when I say we were made for this, is that if you choose to have children, your body knows what to do.
Will know what to do. Yeah, fair enough.
It was made to do this.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's very, very good and makes sense. Like, how do you argue with that, really? That's really cool.
Modern medicine is so new.
It is. That's why it's called modern, because it's not that old. So you, on top of having your own business for healing, you, I think, are also helping other companies. And how many business ventures and things are you involved in right now?
Well, right now, I am just shifted to doing being on the sidelines for 7 Seas Roasting.
Okay.
I was on like the front line with that. And then
That's a coffee shop?
It's a coffee roasting company in San Diego. And we ship nationwide. We're called 7 Seas because we do get our coffee across the 7 Seas. And
where y'all get your coffee from?
Right now we have 3 farms in Laos, one in, I'm like blinking, 2 in Guatemala, 1 in Peru, 1 in Vietnam. And then
Vietnamese coffee is some strong stuff.
So good. And the one we have from Vietnam is we do business a little bit differently. We are very human focused. And so with us, it really is farm to cup. We work directly with our farmers.
Farm to cup.
And which is different in the coffee roasting world and in the coffee world.
You know what this reminds me of?
What?
Have you seen Bruce Almighty, the movie?
Yes, it's been a long time.
So Bruce Almighty, there's a scene, and I'll remind you, refresh your memory. He becomes God, and then he wants to get coffee. And so he calls up like this dude from Colombia in his donkey and his coffee to serve him fresh Colombian coffee. And that's what this reminds me of, from
Yes.
farm to cup.
Yeah, it is different because usually there's a middleman, or when someone says we work directly with their farms, it's usually like an online relationship. But our goal is to sit down and have a cup of coffee with each one of our farmers.
Yeah.
But
Here it is. We're gonna
yes,
check this
there
out.
it is.
I'm going to check this out.
Gracias,
You
señor.
can hear it in the
Adios.
headphones now.
Adios.
It's so funny.
Now that's fresh mountain grown coffee from
That's
the hills
right.
of Colombia.
It's so,
So
funny
funny.
to me. Anyway, sorry
So
about
7 C's, I can go on and on because obviously, right? I helped
that's
with like
one
the startup.
venture.
So I was like, let me just speed this up. Just Go Lift is another one. That's a gym.
Just Go Lift.
That's an amazing one. That's where I'm always working
Can
out.
I go there?
It's a private studio now, so I mean, I have a key.
Oh, okay.
We could set up a time.
I'd be down. I'm actually looking for a place to train clients. Sorry to sidetrack you, but I'm trying to get a little bit better in shape, and I want to do more mental health and physical health training
Yes,
for people.
I did say that I needed to connect you with them because
Yes.
that's all what they're about. It's 3 M's that they focus on: Mills, mindset, and movement.
Mills, mindset,
And movement.
and movement.
Right. So working on the body, your nutrition, but the mind, it really, really freaking matters.
Yes, it does. Yes, it totally does. Wow, that's really cool. So tell me the name of the place again.
Just Go Lift.
Just Go Lift.
And their
That's
website
cool.
is justgolift.com.
justgolift.com.
And their little saying is, when life gets hard, just go lift.
Oh, that's cool. Totally stole it from Nike. Just kidding. But that's
no,
cool.
not do it. Just
I
go
know,
lift.
but that's a really good one. I love it.
That's
That's a really catchy
It's a
one.
play on our last name.
Is it?
Yeah. So it is my younger brother, and our last name is Jogo Left, like Jogo right, Jogo left, with 2 F's instead of a T. And when he first started his brand, it was Jogo Lift. Like for him, it was any Joe can lift, and like lift themselves up out of anything. So lifting, lift yourself out of your poo poo, all of the things, right? And so it was Jogo Lift. And then his brand started. We were doing online fitness coaching together. And I don't know. Oh, I know what it was. He was working on a logo. And I was like, you know what? Jogo Lift works, but I think it should be Just Go Lift.
That's why you're the marketing.
And so he changed it to Just Go Lift, and then he opened a gym, and now he has online programming. Oh, you should totally check out their online programming.
Let's go check it out.
JustGoLift.com. They just launched a new booty program, and that is not just for the ladies. If you're having any type of back pain, training your glutes is going to definitely deter or banish any back pain.
Am I on the right page?
Yeah. Let me see what her...
The gym. I want to check out the gym here. Just Go Lift. Shout out from the Blossom Media Studio.
I know they have the 42-day program and they have the OCR program. Let me see what the link is for
Very
the
cool.
big booty program.
Just Go Lift.
They shout out to them for sure because all of my programming is done by them.
Wow. So this is a gym that your brother started.
Yes, and his wife. So it's a woman-owned business. That one,
That's your brother?
yeah.
It's a handsome gentleman
He's
right
very
there.
skinny there. He has gained so much weight from there.
Looks great. Beautiful. Yeah, I'll definitely need to come check
Okay,
this place
so
out.
the other one
Here's the address for
is,
anybody.
this sounds going to sound so fun. bigbootychallenge.com/I'm ready.
Big booty. This better not be porn. This is live. Challenge.com/
I'm ready.
I'm ready. Okay, this is
It-
about to be a live
it came
moment.
up on my Instagram.
This might be porn. No, it's
No,
not.
there it is.
Oh, we lucked out.
It's so
Shit, that sounded so wrong, man.
She's looking for 27 people, and she's giving the program away for $4.97. Get on this. now.
$4 to make some booty gains.
Yeah.
Wow. I could share some of my booty gain techniques if you'd like. I have a few. The Stairmaster is a big one.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
So Just Go Lifts, 7 C's, and Savvy Skin Spa. So savvyskinspa.com was
Check that one out
I
too.
did all of her website stuff. And
Savvy Skin Spa. So this is it, huh?
that's it.
So you're that's like 4 businesses you just named.
And mine, yeah. hmm
Yeah.
So basically, I was collaborating with Savvy
It's
Skin
24
with.
hours in the day, lady. What are you doing? How? 24 hours. How? How do you do all
Well, when you're aligned with your true self, everything comes with ease and grace.
this? Shit. That sounds like a bunch of fluff. I'm just kidding.
The divine feminine kicks ass. Basically, after helping the spa, the gym, and 7 C's, my brother said, "You've helped 3 people. When are you going to help yourself?" And so I launched Love Excellence a month or 2 ago.
Yeah.
And that's really where my focus is going. I'm most passionate about helping people fall in love with themselves, get rid of their poopy habits, really reprogram the subconscious, figure out why you do the things that you do, and go towards the life that you want.
That's awesome. And what is the intention with the newest business that you started with the healing? Where is it that you're trying to go with it, or you're just kind of starting off so you're not really entirely sure?
Oh, I know my next few moves. Of course I do. Of course.
Tell me, share with me if you don't mind.
I don't mind. So Love Excellence is a 6-week online course.
Okay.
They run it at their pace. So there isn't like a start date and we run it together. You run at your pace. I also have what's going to be launched May 1st. I'm like, what's the date today? We're middle of April. May 1st is going to be like a membership program. So it will be every month you'll get kind of like a weekly lesson. The first week will be on the mind, second week on the body, second week on your soul or spirit, and the fourth week will be like a live session. So you can ask any questions and things like that. That's going to be my inner fairy circle because I believe in fairies and I work with fairies.
Wow. Like Tinkerbell?
Yes.
Damn.
I'm Tinkerbell in the flesh. Can't you tell?
Oh, I get it now. I get it.
So fairies, for those
I'm
of
Peter Pan.
right. Oh,
No, I'm just
geez.
kidding. I don't know if I want to be Peter Pan.
Sprinkle some fairy dust on
I'm
you.
good. I'm good.
Fairies are angels of the 4th dimension. So they're here to heal the planet. And I do like working with fairies. I know a lot of people like to work with angels. Fairies have egos, so they are a little judgmental. And so it makes sense why sometimes I can be judgmental and then I have to realize I am love, let go of the judgment. So the membership and then the next...
Somebody who doesn't know you will just think you're psycho.
That's fine.
Yes.
That we're not meant to work together.
Oof.
It's that simple. I've learned to embrace my weirdness. Either you get down with the get down or you don't. I can't please everyone and there's no need for that.
Well, that's hard.
Yeah, it's drive
tiring.
yourself insane.
It's very tiring
Yeah,
to please everybody.
extremely. I tried that for a long time and you just are unhappy. So my membership is $17 a month. And then
Just a little bit more than Netflix. Come on, people.
I know. Come on. I don't have a code for it yet, but I am the first month gonna give for free. So anyone who wants to, join
First
in.
month free. Use Blossom Media. Maybe she'll give you
we'll
another
do
discount.
Blossom Media.
We'll do a Blossom Media discount special just for anybody that signs up. Use that code.
And then the next move with that is I'm gonna do a 10 days of self-love, and that one's only gonna be $10. So that I'm not giving
for
any
10 days?
I'm not giving any
That's
discounts
okay.
for that one.
Shit, if you really can't afford that, hit me up. I'll pay for yours.
Yeah, I'm like that's practically for free.
Yeah, if you
So
really
I'm
can't
not-
afford that and you need help, hit up Blossom Media Studio at gmail.com and let us know, and I'll reach out to Christina here and we'll set you up. If you really need help and you really can't afford any of her courses, hit me up.
So you want to hear some more things that I'm involved in?
Oh shit, the list goes. Yeah, of course.
So that's the immediate direction of Love Excellence.
Do you find that if you do so many things like this, that you're going to be able to see measurable results from yourself, or would you just feel like you're just kind of scattered with too many things? And
No, I'm not scattered because I manage my time.
Yes.
But I put right now, all of my energy, most of it is on my online courses.
Okay.
So the energy is on building my online business. The other projects are like what will happen after certain things reach a certain goal. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So they're in the works, but I only like check in on them And working with other people is key here. So like, don't do everything by yourself or you will be stretched too thin. So collaborating is the best thing ever. Collaborating, and then having like check-in times or like meetings to move projects along with the teams that you're collaborating with, because it keeps it moving. And then you're like, all right, I'm only going to do that at that time.
Right.
Instead of, oh, I always got to keep like a little bit here, a little bit here. It's like, no, like I do that project then, and then it allows me to focus on what I'm working on. So I have a fellowship with RISE, which is a local urban leadership organization here in San Diego. And we are going to be taking RISE online, and I am in charge of that project. And in growing RISE to be basically, it's like corporate leadership type of stuff. And so we're going to create an online academy for all of the things that we're talking about is like actually taking that into corporate structures, so that people can learn how to not be so stressed and
At work,
and have, practice adaptive leadership and those types of things. It's like, one way doesn't work for everybody. So like learn that and live
that's
it.
so cool.
So I'm super excited.
You make me feel like the laziest person in the world.
And I'm a mom and I still have fun. But there's
It's possible.
but it's all about collaborating, right? So, and getting that off the ground, I'm launching like a fundraising business. And so that I do with other people so that I don't have to like do this all on my own. It's all about working together. Just like with your podcast.
Yeah.
Like,
You know what's funny? I asked this question to Miguel, our mutual friend. I said, what's the one thing you want to know? Because she's going to be here. And he said, ask her. She does all these like 20,000 things. What is the end goal here? What's the point of doing all these things? Where is she trying to take it all?
oh, that's a great question. Where am I trying to take it all? He's so funny. I love him so much. I call him twin because we are very similar. So the end goal here is to remind people who they truly are.
Wow, that's cool.
And
So whatever that means.
to live my purpose and to bring more love to this earth in any way that I can.
I love and respect that. Are we going to get to these cards?
Sure. Why not?
Tell me about these cards. So you brought these cards, ladies and gentlemen, just so maybe you can get a better glimpse. She's brought a stack of cards here on the table that we're going to be looking through.
So I love these cards. These are the Abraham Hicks Getting into the Vortex. So if you ever have a hard time where you're feeling like, you know what, I'm not in alignment with my true self, sometimes, and you don't need to pull these only when you're not in alignment. These are just fun all the freaking time. So they're not tarot cards. I can do tarot readings. I can do fairy card readings. That's all fun. But like energy is energy. So do whatever works for you.
Right.
So these for me are a reminder of aligning with the energy that creates worlds, right? So I truly believe that God is not a God of condemnation. He's one of love. And so the praxis of beating ourselves up, that's a human praxis. So
Right.
we got to learn to stop doing that and tell the story that like God would tell when he looks at you. When he looks at you, he sees greatness. Why are you not telling yourself that story? These cards help me tell that story to myself.
Do something with this so I can show it.
So I would just say pick a random one. Put your energy on the cards and like
Pick a random card?
shuffle them or do whatever you want.
Dang. I don't know what I'm doing, but
There's
all
no
right.
right or wrong way
I'll
to
pick
this.
this one. I didn't look at it.
You're so silly.
What does that say?
It says our varied behavior adds to the planet's well-being. So perfect with Earth Day coming.
Our varied behavior adds to the plan. Can I show the card real quick?
Yeah, of course.
So here's the card that I picked from the stack of cards. All right, tell me about it.
When you remember that nothing can come into your experience without your vibrational invitation of it, and when you remember that the varied behavior of others adds to the balance and well-being of your planet, even if they offer behavior that you do not approve of, this is so perfect from the conversation we've been having, and that you do not have to participate in the unwanted behavior and will not unless you give your attention to it. You become more willing to allow others to live as they choose.
We
So
literally talked about this.
It's like podcast. Mic drop.
Dang.
In
that
one
was
card.
not planned. You guys saw I randomly picked that damn card. Talk about energy, man. Something to it. Something
Energy's
to it.
real. I mean, it's the same with like children. I think, you asked me about parenting,
Yes.
and so many times people are focused on the behavior that they don't want from their child, and that's what they get. So when I
Wow.
focused on my child, he's like being a brat, or he's just, I'm going to get more of that. So I always like take a deep breath in and I let it go. And I'm like, what is it that I'm seeking here? Like, what is it that I want? Or align myself. And I think of his greatness, then I get more of the nice behavior.
Yeah.
So we have to focus on that which we want, even in other humans. This doesn't mean like, oh, I'm going to control the other human, but like, if I'm focused on how wonderful he is, it's not that I want to make him wonderful. I'm focused on how he has been wonderful and what it is that he is doing, so then he can grow and flourish more in that area instead of flourishing as a brat.
Yes. What you focus on, you feel in your body. You can really feel if it's a positive, good thing you want to focus on, you're going to feel that in your body. If it's something negative you want to focus on, you're going to feel that in your body as well. And that's really what it is. It's really that simple. It's kind of silly that the sort of the framework of our operating is so simplistic, yet we think that it's so much more complicated than it actually is, when there are some real simple fundamentals to it. So these cards, tell me a little bit more about like how you use
my
these.
God. I love Abraham Hicks. Esther channels the energy of Abraham. So if you don't know,
These cards.
but there's so many fun ones. There's no right or wrong way
All
to
right,
use these.
you
like
pick a
sometimes
card.
I just will pick a random one and like, I'm like, oh yeah, what a great reminder. A great way to start my
Do
morning.
this. All right. We have something similar to this called over here. Have these mind mastery cards.
Oh, yeah.
They're
There's all
quite
kinds
similar
of
to
different
this. Seeds to succeed. It's like affirmations and things like
yeah,
that.
that's exactly all of this stuff, right? All right, we'll just do it randomly.
Yes,
like
you're
we
a
did.
random card. I'm gonna pick it. Give it to me.
Oh, it's the same thing we're talking about.
Here we go. Okay, so this one is called "By My Attention to Things, I Am Making Choices." So what this says, ladies and gentlemen, it says what people do not understand is that you do not choose something by looking at it and shouting, "Yes, I would like some of that." You make your choices by your attention to things. In this universe that is based on attraction, when you look at an unwanted thing, your attention to it causes an activation of the vibration within you, and then the law of attraction brings more like it into your experience. This is seriously what we just talked about. What you focus on, you feel. Are you planning this shit out? Everything I'm saying, you just...
You're going to trip balls off of this one.
Oh my
Look
gosh.
at this one
Oh, this is the next one.
about children.
Our opinion about our children can influence their behavior. This is bullshit. I don't believe this is not real, yo. This is bullshit. You just pulling this out. You planned this, right? This whole deck was like seriesed out.
With my eyes closed and
Oh
everything.
my
I'm
God.
so that cool.
This is nuts, man. So this one, the back of this card says, the more you see things in your child that you do not want to see, the more of that you will see. And so the behavior of the illicit from your child is more about you than it is about your child. This is actually true of all of your relationships, but since you think about your children more than you do of most others, your opinion about your child plays a greater role in its behavior. Trippy, we literally talked about that. You just told me this.
I just did.
Put this shit away before we just freak out, okay? Because I'm going to freak out. This is too much for me.
It's fun.
This is really cool. Christina, I think this has been a fantastic, I don't know how long. We've been on air for, if we just stay for
Way too long.
20 more seconds, it'll be 2 hours, which is fascinating because it feels like we just sat down. And this has been very, 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 very cool for me. You're the first female guest on my show, which to me is really cool just because I've been asking, trying to get people, but, it hasn't worked out. It seems like what worked out was meant to work out.
As always.
And this is, I couldn't have asked for this to go any better than it has.
Awesome.
I've had nothing but a great time with you. So thank you so much for sharing your presence with me
Thank you.
on this beautiful day. I really, really do appreciate it. Do come back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get the hell out of here. Thank you so much for checking this out. Hope you have a great rest of your day.